Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can import web page live data in Google Sheet. This will be very helpful when we need some online data in our representation or for some reporting purpose. We can also create some dashboards using that data. So and we can also define the data frequency, data refresh frequency, and then the data will be refreshed automatically based on the defined frequency. So let's say we need the data imported in every minute, then we can define that as well. So for this, let's create one Google Sheet. So in your web browser, type just sheet.new. This is the shortcut key for opening the Google Sheet. And let's give the Google Sheet name is import web data. You can give your own name. And first we have the Google Sheet function that is called import HTML. We have other function as well, import XML and similar other functions, but let's use first import HTML. So import HTML, using import HTML, we can import the web data. So first we need to define the URL here, and for this demo I'm using the site like Worldometer info, and there we have the COVID-19 data. So this is the URL from where I'm going to import the data, and then we need to define the table here. Just this is the table, and from which table we are going to import the data. So this site has multiple tables there, so I already checked that table 1 of this site has COVID-19 data from today's COVID-19 data, and table 2 has COVID-19 data from yesterday, and so on. So we need data from table 1. If web page you are trying to import the data has only one table, then this won't be a problem. You don't need to worry about the number of table there, but you can check what data are present in which table. So you can also check what data they are in table 2 and table 3 and so on. So using this, the table data from the web page has been imported here. And in some cases we don't need all the columns from the web page. We may need just 4 or 5 columns, or we may need just total cases, active cases. So in that case, we have the query function in Google Sheet that is very powerful when we need some particular column only, or when we need some arithmetic operations, or when we need some grouping, then we can use the query function there. So for this, before import HTML, I'm going to write query, and then we need to define what columns we need. So select function will select the column. So select column 1, this will select the column 1, and a column 2, column 3, column 4. So this is the standard syntax for importing the particular columns. So now doing this, we will only get the 4 columns here. If you need all the columns from the table, then you don't need to go with the query part. But if you need particular columns only, then you can write the syntax as given. So column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Selecting the particular column will be helpful when your site keeps changing. They keep adding new columns, and then that may disturb your representation, or that may disturb your data structure. So for that, if you need only particular columns data, then you can define the columns here. So up to now, we are able to import the data from the web page, but this won't get refreshed automatically. So pulling the static data from the web page doesn't make sense at some instances. So if you need live data, then you cannot just rely on this import HTML function. So if you need the data one time from the web page data, then this is fine. But if you need live data and that should be refreshed automatically, then you need to go with some Google AppScript query, so which I am going to show now. So now to define the frequency, first we have to translate this import part to the AppScript function, and then we can define the trigger there, and then that will refresh the data automatically. So for that, first go to the tools and script editor. first define the project name here. Sorry, I'm going import wave data. This is the project name, and this is the function name. You can give your own function name, or you can just use what Google App Script has given already. So this is now fine for using the my function, but if you have multiple function, then you need to give your own function. So let's give get web data as a function name. First, you need to define the seat in which you are going to write the data, or in which you are going to do this manipulation. So for this, I'm giving the seat name as a variable, and we have one function, AppScript function for spreadsheet is spreadsheet app. It is the interface, and then using the get active spreadsheet, you will get the spreadsheet in which this app script is connected with, and then you need to provide the seat name in which you are going to do this action. So in our case, this is the seat 1 where we need to perform this function, or if this is for another seat, then you can give the seat name here. So get seat by name, so this will get the seat by name seat 1. This is that seat name in which we are going to write our data. Now you have to define the function, define the formula that you need to write in the sheet. So let's say COVID data, and you can simply copy the functions, copy the complete formula that you need to write in the Excel sheet. So this is the complete formula I have taken from spreadsheet. Now we get the sheet, and we get the formula that need to be written in the sheet. Now we need to write those formula in the cell, in the sheet cell. So for this sheet name, so this will get the sheet 1 here, and then get range function will in get range we can define the range or the cell where we need to write the formula. So in our case, this is the cell A1. So in the cell A1, we are going to, you can define your own cell, it doesn't always need to be a A1. So in the A1, we are going to set value. What value we are going to set is, we need to set the value as COVID data. So doing this, we will be now able to translate the manual part, translate the Excel sheet formula written part to our API script, Google API script. So save this project, and you also need to grant the permission for API script to access our Google sheet. So let's wait. Now run the function. While running, it will ask us for the permission. This will be, we do not need to give the permission each time, but for the first time we need to grant the permission here. Okay, so click on the review from permission and sign in with your Google account here, and in the advanced section we can go to the import data unsafe. We have written the code, so we don't need to worry about whether it's we don't need to worry about the unsafe part. So we can import, we can give the SS. So we can allow now our API script to write the data to the web data. Now the execution has been started and execution has been completed. So now if I remove this formula, the sheet will be empty. Now if I run this code, now the data will be written, or the formula will be written to the cell A1, and then the data will be loaded automatically. So by doing this, we are now able to translate our Google API script formula to Google Sheet formula to the Google API script. Now to refresh the data automatically, or to refresh the data with a fixed interval of time, we have a trigger here. So just below the script editor, we have a time trigger here. So using add trigger, first you have to choose which functions this trigger should be for which function this trigger should be executed. This is the get web data. If we have multiple functions, then you can choose from that drop down. We don't need to worry about this part. And select event source. So this is from spreadsheet or from calendar or from time driven. If we need to refresh the data based on fixed interval of that time, then we need to choose the time driven. Or if we need to refresh the data only once in a day or only once using some calendar, then you can use the calendar function there. So for now we are using the time driven, and we have the option to choose whether it is the hour timer, minutes timer, day timer. So now for I'm using the minutes timer. And here we have the option like every minutes, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. So while choosing the every 5 minutes, the data will be refreshed every 5 minutes. So if we choose every minute, then the data will be refreshed in every minute. So I'm going to choose every 5 minutes. So that's the you can choose these values as per your need. If you need the data to be refreshed in every minutes, then you can choose every minutes, every 5 minutes, and so on. And when there are any failure, then you will get the email notification. So you can choose whether it need to be defined immediately or in the hourly basis or in a daily basis. So I'm choosing the daily. So at the end of the day, if there are any failure, then we'll get the notification in our email. It will also show what causes the failure. Sometimes the website from where we are importing the data may get down, or something wrong may happen there. So clicking the save. Now the this code will be executed. The code we have defined here will be executed in every 5 minutes. That means the value in this cell A1 will be refreshed in every 5 minutes. Okay, so that means ultimately the data will be imported in data will be refreshed in every 5 minutes. And recently, we are seeing the case here due to the caching of Google. The data sometimes the data may not be refreshed actually. So the data may the Google Sheet may show the cached data. So I think it was done by the Google to prevent some traffic from their side. So for that, we can we can use some few tweaks here so that the data won't be cached and will be refreshed every time. So for that, let's define one additional function called variable query string. Okay, and use math.random function. So math.random function will give some mathematical, some numeric value that will be refreshed. It's refreshed every time, and so this query string will have the value. Sorry, math.random. So the query string value will change in every execution. So this value will keep changing, and then we can append that query string in our URL so that the Google will think that this is the new request every time, so that the cache data won't be shown in our Google Sheet or in our spreadsheet. So for that, you need to define there from the at the end of the URL, just define the question mark and then append the query string using the ampersand. So here ampersand query string. Or so if you want to see what value it's being written there using the query string, then first you can write that query string values in some cell, and then you use that cell value in spreadsheet functions. So for that, now write that value in some cell. So sheet name dot get range, and I'm going to write that value in G2. Okay, G2. Dot set value. So method random will generate some random values or random numeric value in the query string variable, and that value will be returned into the G2. And now I can append that G2 in this G2 in my query part, so that the data won't be cached. Also, this URL is very lengthy, and we may need to change the URL sometimes. So we can also write that URL in some cell, and then use that cell value to import the data here. So now I need to import import G2. Okay. Now let's see what value will be there in G2 cell here. Sorry, maths. Sorry, this is not maths. This is math. Oh, ignore my spell error here. Math.random. So G2 will have some random value. In each execution, this value will be changed, and then that value will be appended in our query string, so that in our query string G2 value will be appended there, 0.89, so that the data won't be cached. So let me review again. So the variable query string here, we have used the math.random function, so that the value the value in the query string variable will be changed in each execution, and that query string is appended to our URL, so that it will send fresh request to the site. And you can also use cell value here instead of writing just whole uh, URL. Just you can write the URL part here, and then you can use I2 as a cell value. So this is all for importing the data using import HTML function. And sometimes you may need some non-tabular data. So for in our case, we may need some data from this function. So for that, we can use import XML function. So I'm going to show that part as well. So for that, we can use some XPath of this tag. So this is under the div, and the text contain the last updated. We do not have other IDs or name here. So now let's write this last updated information in some cell, like for example J1 S1. So for that, this is one variable where we'll be writing importing the table data, and we can also define another variable here. So let's say variable current time. So it will be similar to the import HTML, but we are using import XML here, as we need XML data, or we need the data from XPath, and it is not the tabular data here. So for that, import XML function of the web page, and first we need to define the URL. So it will be similar here. Import XML, sorry. After import XML, we have to write the XPath of div, or XPath of the text from where we are going to import the data. So it is under the div tag. So first XPath is // for any div that contains the text. So we can use div function, and inside div we can use contents and text. Sorry. So what text it should contains? let's say last updated. So here we need multiple quotations, so here is single quotation and this will close that single quote. So to avoid that, in case where we have, so for example we have a double string character here, single string character here, and if we need additional string character in our from xbar, then we can use slash function. So then this will won't close this tag. The text should contain last updated. So get the value from any div that contain the last updated text. And let's close this new line character and then close the syntax. And after double quotes, this is the closing for xpath, and then bracket for import xml, and quotation for this current time function. Now set name dot get range, where we are going to write the data. So adds one, range adds one, and that set value, what value we are setting here is current time. This is in current time we'll write this function. So both the formulas, that is import XML and import HTML to import the table, and import XML to get some data from some div or some web element. So we can also take this title from here. We can also take any like a death count from here. We can also take a recovered count from here using using import XML and their path for the text field. And we have set that values, and both of these formulas are inside the get web data, so they will be refreshed automatically in every 3 minutes, or whatever time we have provided in the trigger. Same trigger will work for both of these functions. So let's set this project and run now. Now we also got the information about the last updated, so that we'll get the information from this site, get this information from the site. So in this tutorial I have shown you two different criteria, two different way to import the data, one using the import HTML and using the table, importing the table from there, and another is using the import XML. And I have also shown you how we can bypass the cache. So previously I faced this issue, like I was not defining some query string, and the data, sometimes the data was refreshing in every 3 minutes, but it was not showing the fresh data. So I found that the cache data were being shown. So to avoid that issue, or to get rid with that issues, we can append some query string here. And so the last part, so let's write it. So the same URL is being used in multiple places, so we can just write that URL here, somewhere here, like in cell I1, and you can use I1 here. It's your call whether you want the URL to be present inside the code, or you want your URL isolated from the code, so that when we need data from some other URL, we can just replace the URL part here, and we do not need to modify our code. So let's run this code as well. Okay, this execution has been completed, and the data sorry, this is we do not need to specify the quotation here, as we have supplied the data we are using the data from Excel sheet itself. So let me correct that. Just a sec. And let's save this code. Run again. Now the execution has been completed and the data, let's check the data. Okay, I think, yeah, sorry. For that, you need to define the quotation here, and as this will be a string part here, so you need to remove this. So the question mark, I have added that in the URL itself. Yeah, now data has been refreshed, and this check also, you can also check this string value, and I have randomly placed the data, some data in z1, and if you want those to be structured, so you can place them in the some defined place. So now if you want to import the data from some other site, you can just replace the site here, and the column and the table may differ, so for which you may have to go with modify, you may have to modify the columns or the tables count here, but that's but that is not the, that should not be the major problem here. So that's all for now, and if you have any question or concern regarding this, then you can simply write your comment uh, in the YouTube, in these videos below the video, and don't forget to subscribe this channel for upcoming videos like this. And if you have some, if you have questions, comments, or anything, just write that in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video, and stay safe.